Yes, hello and welcome to this presentation on natural flood management, NFM potential in grassland. My name is Andy Dyer. I'm the Senior Farming and Conservation Officer for Eden Rivers Trust, based in the Eden Valley near Penrith. Like all matters, there are some essential items before we even begin to look at mechanical interventions in grassland, and my two key bits of kit are the spade and the soil sampling equipment. The spade's useful obviously for digging holes to assess at what level there might be some subsurface compaction, and then the soil sampling equipment tells us a lot more about what's going on in the soil in terms of the pH and looking at the nutrient balance in there, and particularly in clay soils, looking at magnesium levels, and therefore seeing whether an excess of magnesium is leading to problems with the soil clumping together and not flocculating properly, and therefore giving rise to compaction within the soils. So we have a number of items of equipment to hire on a free-to-hire basis within Eden Rivers Trust. The first of these is our Mastec Pan Buster. I say free-to-hire. They come out with a 2-week contract, which the grower is required to sign, and they're on they sort of fix it if they bend it type of contract. And I am responsible for the routine maintenance of all the machines, and we've done that in conjunction with Newton Rig students in the past, enabling them to work on machines which they might not come across in terms of their day-to-day life. So this is the Mastec Pan Buster, which is fitted with a piggyback Opico drill, hydraulic fan drive, so can handle a wide range of seed types, and we've used this very successfully last year in the catchment to establish catch and cover crops in stubble, and also to drill stubble turnips into a winter barley stubble in the midpoint of last year. We also have a number of grassland aerators. We have 3 of these available for, again, on free to hire basis out in the catchment, and again, these are on a contract for a 2-week hire, and then they're designed to move from farm to farm once they move out into the catchment. Again, routine maintenance is covered by myself and in the past with Newton Rig students. We've been involved in the past with Lancaster University and continue to do so within the Rivers Trust, and one of the projects we undertook with Olivia, who was doing an MSc project a couple of years ago, was to look at the effect of grassland sward lifting on the infiltration capacity of improved grassland within the catchment. And the overall aim was to look at a field where half of the field was covered with the pan buster and the other half was left just as normal. And then Olivia used a number of techniques to assess the permeability of the soil with set volumes of water. The results were quite categoric in that we found that the sward lifting was increasing the infiltration capacity of the improved grassland by a 3-fold compared to the controlled study areas. So a very significant difference from that intervention technique. So the summary results were that sward lifting definitely helps the soil by opening it up, so it gets it to act much more like a sponge, and therefore has great benefits in terms of that ability of that soil to retain moisture rather than it to run off the top of the surface, and then increase the likelihood of downstream surface flooding. And also there's the net benefit of trapping sediment and runoff, sediment and nutrients in that runoff, and therefore allowing them into the soil rather than allowing them to move further off down into other water courses downstream. So a couple of videos of the machines working. This is the pan buster in the stubble, establishing the catch and cover crop, which is a mixture of vetches and Western Wold Wiregrass. I won't talk over the slide because it's quite noisy. So this was the net result of the machine having passed over, and then a few weeks later we got a good strike of the vetches and the Westerwold swiegrass. The idea was that this would help to mop up any nutrients that were left over post-harvest, and because we were drilling across the slope, then this would hopefully potentially also allow the crop to reduce the potential for surface runoff on these fields post-harvest. And this is just a shot of the stubble turnips that were established using the same machine back in the summer of last year post-harvest, and a very successful establishment of a crop in the field, and yielded a very good crop of stubble turnips, which grazed a lot of lambs and then subsequently used throughout this last winter. So this is just a short video of the machine working in grassland. It's not drilling this time, just purely acting as an aerator and subsoiler. So in conjunction with the mechanical techniques, we also use high tech within the Eden Rivers Trust, and these are just some of the images that we've obtained from some drone footage of part of the catchment, which is subject to surface water flooding, and there's a community of risk downstream of this land. And by using the drone, we created orthomosaics and also this height mapping, which allows us then to back up the on-farm walkover surveys as to where the best place to put interventions in to aid with the natural flood management in the grassland. And on the back of this, we have now designed the system which will create 2 bunds and also involve the cleaning out of an existing culvert and existing old sediment trap. And this will be backed up by increased aeration in the swards and better overall grassland management on this block of land, which has been in permanent pasture for many years. And one of the other benefits of using the drone is that we then get access to other aspects of the technology, and this is sort of like an artist's image of how the water would look once the bunds are in place, and how much water we'll be holding back, and therefore we can be sure that we've got the ground truthing right, and we've got the technology right to ensure that the bunds are in the right place and that the water is not being held back to such an extent that it then spills out onto the public road and then just goes down to the village by other means rather than through natural processes.